Recently, authorities have asked OK Soda to respond to allegations that the television chain letter is some sort of secret code. Nothing could be further from the truth. It is a marketing tool only. A secret or code of any kind would be counterproductive. It would imply that OK is only for those who truly understand it. Please stop this rumor and help others to realize that things are going to be OK.
Hey everyone ever, and welcome to 20th Century Pop, the show where we try to understand the present while living in the past. My name is Tim Blevins.
And I am Bob Canning.
And Bob, here we are. I actually thought you were going to do your classic pausing thing, so I was all set to jump in so that we would keep moving, but I didn't have anything. I had this.
I did the classic pause, so I fulfilled my role in our opening.
I'm trying to whittle that pause down.
Sure.
So I'm realizing most shows, most podcasts, most pieces of entertainment or vocal philosophy or whatever it is that the podcast, I guess, lose their listeners in the first year. No, lose their listeners within the first probably 5 minutes. I don't have facts here. I thought I did.
But it's
I
probably
think they
early
lose
on.
Quickly.
They have to decide pretty early on if they're going to keep listening.
And I know that I am a tough critic because I don't like friendly banter about most hosts that I listen to. I don't want to hear their crazy jokes, as I've said before, about the cat that happens to be on the mic, or I'm not feeling well, or whatever it is. That stuff bugs me. So to jump right in is what I was trying to do. And I'm sorry. I think I'm sure the music's done by now. I think I fucked that up.
No, it's okay. You were probably going to say something like, are you thirsty today? Do you need a beverage? Maybe that was going to be your segue. Probably
or just
not, but
might have been
maybe.
an expression of how much I care. Are you thirsty? Have you had a beverage?
I've been hydrating, with just water today.
Okay. I've had some water, and then I also had some gin, mathematically mixed with vermouth.
Nice.
I think so, but we're not talking about gin, vermouth, or water today. But like you said, we're talking about. And again, you know what? I am going to cut in, and I know that I proposed this topic. Unlike
Snacks.
Yes, you proposed that one. Yeah, we're kind of going out of our normal pop culture media, as it's now called, visual, audio, whatever angle of the show, and we're kind of going to attempt to wrap our brains and lips around a beverage. Everyone who's still with us, we're talking about a soft drink this week.
Well, we're talking about a little bit
soda.
more than a soft drink, Tim. Don't sell the show short.
But the soda sold itself short.
It did. It sure did, and it wanted to. We're talking about OK Soda from the 90s.
OK Soda is today's topic. OK Soda.
But also just the idea of selling something to our generation, the Generation X dynamic, and how that might play into what we choose to purchase and try, and what we don't, and maybe we purposely don't want to because they're trying to sell it to us.
Now you're saying that present tense. We're talking the past here. We're talking
this is true.
1993. And something that you just said, and I don't know how often we actually say this on the show. We never, for a couple of people who are talking about pop culture of the 80s and 90s, we never identify as, I don't think we've identified really as Generation X on the show before. I know it's just a title and that's obnoxious, but there are demarkers or demarcations socially and economically and developmentally. Do you think of, or do you consider yourself, you refer to yourself, as you just did, I guess, as Generation X?
Not regularly. I mean, perhaps if there's a conversation about it and people are qualifying, what era of time they're from, what age group they're from, that sort of thing, what music or pop culture they like. I might mention it.
Is that how you measure it by? Mainly by music and popular culture?
Sometimes. It depends on the group I'm with. And if it's a new group, generally I've only found this with a new job where I'm just starting to get to know people, and there's an age range, and sometimes you can really easily tell how old somebody is. Sometimes you cannot. And so a lot of times the music and movies they like is a window into what generation they might belong to. Not that it really matters, but it just might help define things and might help you relate or know who you aren't going to relate to.
Sadly, there was no great movements from people my age when I was my age, and there was no great. You can look back to the '60s and see something in the perceived and exaggerated history of how I saw that. Nowadays, you can look at people, millennials, and actions being taken to adjust our culture to break out of gender roles, to adjust our cultures to break out of sexist gender roles. Like, there are movements I can see in both spectrums, and identifications on both spectrums of people in that age bracket are trying to make a change. And for me, I had none of that. I had apathy. I had a self-loathing of myself and a hatred of the world because it just seemed like bullshit. Seemed like entitled Holden Caulfield like bullshit. In 1993, I could fucking care less. Is that the phrase, or is it I couldn't care less? I always get that one wrong.
I think people use it both ways, but I prefer your first version.
I could care less.
You fucking could care less.
Could care less. But that's where I was at, and that's what I think of with that generation. And it's not that generation failed the world. I think a lot of great people. I don't know why I almost said it like that. I think a lot of great people came out of Generation X who have done things. I think there's a lot of great comedians and musicians in the world that came out of that, authors and all. I don't know if there's that great Gen X politician. I don't know if there's a great Gen X doctor who's making a difference. There's an artistic bent to that generation, but there's no attempt to better the world. There's no attempt to really solidify or sell the world on something, in my perception anyways, of what it means to be Generation X.
I wasn't looking ahead. I was just in the moment, and the moment, like you're saying, wasn't about anything. There wasn't that bigger drive to better, like you're saying, better the world. It was just about...
We had Earth Day.
Yeah. But I mean, like, in my moment, like, I didn't even really plan for the coming weekend or something. It was just, let's just step outside and walk around and see what happens. Let's go to the coffee shop down the way and see what happens. Let's hang out in the shared, dorm room area and see what happens. There wasn't really like a goal. I never had a goal. Which might have been... It
seems sad in retrospect that we were just waiting to see what happened.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I regret that.
Really?
Yeah.
I regret that.
A bit, because I feel like had I better... And it's not like that was everything. I mean, certainly as I found things that I enjoyed and things that I liked, I would gravitate more towards those things. So,
but was that happening? When was that happening? In your 20s?
Mid to late college and after college, I guess.
It was.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I tried. I tried with like the comedy troupe and post college comedy troupe. I tried that. It didn't amount to anything, but at least I gave myself some goals for a little while.
What you're looking for is a title of something. And that's what you consider getting out of the sadder parts of just waiting for something. It sounds like you were starting to feel better when you started finding identities. And is that wrong to say?
No. I guess that's right. Yeah.
Do you still feel that? I mean, you have identities. We all do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not exactly sure. I'm still working out what I'm feeling these days.
I didn't have this step up or the step over, the step into. Now I'm doing better because I'm pursuing something. You were saying, I think you said waiting around, see what would happen. That's what I did.
Yeah, that's what we were doing.
And that sounds like that's not good for you.
It was at the time, in that, late teens, early 20s, mid 20s age where you were invincible and you didn't really have the care of finance, the care of school anymore. Maybe you didn't have the care of the future. It didn't bother you because everything was way ahead of you. And so you really were just in that moment. And in those moments, I didn't mind it. I sort of enjoyed it. And there are times where I miss it. I think in retrospect, I should have been doing more. I should have been trying harder. I should have, not just spent every damn weekend sleeping until 11:30, 12 noon, getting up and walking somewhere and finding some food somewhere, just walking around listening to music aimlessly until dinner time, when maybe I'd go home for food, maybe I'd eat out, maybe I'd find somebody to hang out with, maybe not, go home, play some video games, watch a movie, go to bed. That was my Gen X experience, I guess.
So what's the time frame of that? When did that?
Well,
when
I mean,
you think of that as a block of time.
Yeah, I think of it as college and first couple years post college, 2-3 years post college. Basically 93 to 2000.
And then what changed it?
What changed it is a girlfriend that became my wife, and family, and then knowing I need health insurance and a career and that kind of thing. Like, I could get by without that for a while. There was like one illness I had in the late 90s that just would not, I can't even remember what it was. I could not shake it. And I didn't have any health insurance. I had to go to a clinic for the first time. That was an eye-opening experience of me trying to get my life together.
You had never been to a clinic before, a walk-in clinic?
No, I mean, prior to that, any health issues had occurred while I was home. So I would go to my family doctor. This was the first time I was out on my own in Boston, where I got sick enough that I needed to see a doctor. That was the first time.
And this shook you. What were you, like 23, 24?
I would have had to have been 25.
Did I miss it?
Yeah, 24, 25.
And you had a realization that what was wrong with the clinic? What? I mean, I'm not challenging. I'm asking.
There was nothing wrong with it, but it was like just.
You sound like you should go back.
Yeah, I might have to. It was just that eye-opening experience of this, and again, like, the world puts these expectations on you. Like, you're supposed to have health insurance. You're supposed to have a doctor, a regular doctor. You're supposed to have a job that provides you the ability to have those things. And I didn't have any of those things. And so it didn't matter because I wasn't getting sick. It didn't matter because I was making enough money to live. It didn't matter because things were fine and everything was going to be perfect in the future. But that moment where I was like so sick, I didn't know what to do. And I couldn't go home, take a bus ride home to see my family doctor, who, by the way, was still my pediatrician. I was 24, 25. So it's like
the tallest person in that clinic and the one that was watched by security.
So I had to get it figured out. And, I think it was a big step for me just to even go to the clinic.
Right, that predates having a girlfriend. That predates having a relationship that turns into marriage. And so that was about, what, your mortality?
I don't know if it was just about my mortality, but just about what the societal norm was supposed to be. And how I grew up, and my family had jobs, had insurance, had doctors, and I at that moment didn't. And it's like, maybe that's about time that I do that, because clearly it's the thing I'm starting to need. One of the things that I'm starting to need.
Were they pressuring you at this point? I don't know if they were pressuring you before.
Yes.
They were.
Constant pressure during that period and for years after, even. But
that's not what got to you. That's not what.
No, their pressure didn't get to me.
Change.
In fact, their pressure, like most Gen Xers, made me want it less.
I mean, I get that part. Because that's a rebellion. I don't even know if it's a rebellion. I guess it is. We rebel against our parents. Whenever we're rebelling against something, it's against our parents, even if they're wonderful, caring as mine are, and whatever. But you were making a move, a step to better yourself at 25 in your viewpoint, your vantage point. A very, from what we've already said, non-Gen X thing to do, which is an exaggerated statement. By the way, for the Coca-Cola fans who tuned in, it sounds like we're not going to be talking soda, only because we can. If
we're setting the stage.
But we're also, we're working me up. I don't know if you're getting worked up, only because I'm seeing a divergence. I'm seeing a different. I mean, there are many differences between you and I, but I'm seeing a difference here that I think I knew was there now, but it apparently happened earlier than I thought. I'm seeing a path that you took, that you're on, that you live, that you work hard for. And none of this is putting it down. I made sure to put that you work hard for, so I'm not putting it down.
Right.
I'm just saying this idea of identifying with a term, this Generation X term, or more what it stood for. Again, this need, and to me, very real relationship to apathy that I had, which as we're speaking, I'm going to look up to make sure I'm using that right. But, that followed through lack of interest, enthusiasm, or concern is what it says. Indifference. Uninterestedness, unresponsiveness.
You held on to that much longer than I did. Is that what you're trying to get to?
I don't want to say held on, though. I think I was a part of.
Right.
It's still there.
Yeah.
I still have an apathetic view to this whole world. By the way, totally validated.
I thought you were going to say to this podcast.
To this whole, to all 20 listeners, thank you. But no, I don't see much of a future.
Sure.
I don't mean just for myself. I just mean for the society and the world. And some of that's based on paranoia, and some of that's based on not thinking things through. But some of that is just based on the fact that for every movement we take, we follow the MC Scat Cat motif of taking steps back. The fact that we can't move forward enough without everyone rejecting it and electing a racist fascist into power, and voicing their fears of change, and because of all that, I don't really think things are, and I apologize, but I don't think the world's gonna get better for your kids. I don't think the world's gonna get better if they decide to have kids or impact people. It's not gonna get better. So that's still there. The difference that I'm in now is I know that I kind of want to survive in it. I would not kind of want to, but I am. And the relationship. I'm in a relationship. I'm in a marriage. I'm in a connection with someone that, even though sometimes the terminology drives me nuts, there's an important sharedness to that that's less selfish than I've ever been. But that's the only change. It's harder to be apathetic, disinterested in the world, and fatalistic. Maybe I could go to that word. When I am caring about someone. Which is not to say I didn't care about my friends, but I just thought, well, we'll all burn together because they're friends. They'll burn with you. But we were roommates, and we were still in, because I feel like we went different paths. That's fine. That's what people do.
Right.
And we went a period without talking, and it wasn't resentment. It wasn't anything other than just we were in different parts of our lives, and I didn't know how to communicate. I have never known how to communicate with people I know who have kids. I can talk to kids, I can talk to parents, but when it's someone I know who then has kids, I don't know, because I do have that weird measurement of what does this mean? They're another step. But prior to that happening, we were already on divergent paths with our views of the world and our views of ourselves. Let's say ourselves.
Yeah,
and we're still just as close and able to get along. But you got some grasp of a need of a future. You had to take care of yourself. You had these thoughts that propelled you maybe to the next platform. And I had no clue, no idea. You wanted health insurance before 40? What?
Right.
And that's interesting to me because, I guess you're not feeling the need to identify with a category maybe. You're not Gen X, whatever that means.
Right.
And again, it's just a term. But I don't know. I'm again, we'll be talking soda momentarily, everyone. Cans of soda, silver cans with a citrusy, sweet drink that failed. And we were in one of the test markets, and that's why we're going to talk about it. I don't know. I must have looked like a fucking moron to you in 2000 and 2001. I must have looked aimless to you.
No.
You can say yes. We're very far beyond. I'm telling you what to say. I'm sorry.
I didn't think that. I in a lot of ways, I envied you.
That's different, by the way, than admiring. I would like to point out, but yes.
But in a lot of ways, and you weren't the only person that I kind of envied at the time that didn't seem to have the same fear that I had about not being prepared for the future.
Well, I didn't think there was going to be with that millennium bug coming up. 2012 was following that.
Yeah, and like I said, it's like I wish I could have that same sort of not nihilistic outlook, but just this outlook of not being worried about the future, not being worried about having the good job, the insurance, the relationship, the kids, maybe even, but just living your life the way that you wanted to live it.
But that's a nostalgic thing now. Back then,
no, I felt that way then too.
Really?
Yeah.
But you weren't far from it yet. How could you already feel like you wanted that?
Because I felt like I've already made my choice. Like I already knew at that age, just after the turn of the century, that it's like, okay, I'm not going to be a writer. I'm not going to be an actor. I'm not going to be this famous comedian. I'm going to be the guy that has the 9-to-5 job and is in a relationship. I kind of already made that choice. There was like a hint of it here in the background. It's like, oh, well, during the nights I can do this, or maybe.
Did you form a comedy troupe after that?
I formed a comedy. So right after college,
the Ha-Ha Table, is that what they're called?
No, I helped.
Here I can't think of anything.
When I was still in Boston, my girlfriend at the time, who turned into my wife, she saw that there was an advertisement, I don't know, in the Phoenix or something, to gather.
So in 2001, 2000.
2000. It was 99 or 2000. To join, get some like minds together to form a comedy troupe. So I thought, fuck it, yeah, let's do it. Because I had tried to do it. I did it in college. I was in comedy troupes in college. I tried to do it when I lived in LA for a little while. And then I moved home for the transition period, and then I moved to Boston. And so now I'm in Boston, and she saw the advertisement and suggested I do it. And I was like, yes, damn it. What the hell? Let's do it. So I met these guys. They seemed like nice enough people. They were all strangers to me, which was new. I've always only done the troupe stuff with people I'd met at school or had gone to school with. That was that was the LA troupe. So this was really interesting and fun and different for me because I didn't know these people. I didn't know their history. They didn't know mine. They didn't know my sense of humor, and I didn't know theirs. I'd have to get to know them. We'd have to work together, and it failed miserably. Nobody got along. There was a couple people that just were at each other's, email. We were emailing back and forth at one point and just bickering about ideas. And then somebody actually booked a show for us, our first show, as like a resenting act of fine, you think this, then let's just do the fucking show. And it's like, this isn't how you get along. So it was not a great experience, but I think your question was, did I form a troupe? Partially. We never actually formed publicly.
What was your hilarious but intellectual pun name for that troupe?
I did not vote for this. This was not the name that I liked, but we were called Perfect Monster.
Oh, well, that's pretty good. That's not bad.
It's okay. And I think for a while they existed. I think that the two people that were like the crux of that group that were really trying to put it together.
Zach Galifianakis and Andrea Savage. No, I don't know.
No, I don't think anyone's famous. I know no one's famous. But maybe they're in Boston. I don't know. Look around. See if Perfect Monster's still playing.
I wonder if they would prefer a finely opened can of OK soda.
No, well, I think we've clearly defined who we were at that time and what the generation could be like and what a lot of us were like. How do you sell a product to people like that, Tim? And do you even bother? And is that not a good enough segue?
But by telling them they need kids and by telling them they need a career in health insurance. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know, man.
What is...
You could tell them that everything's going to be okay.
I'm just a little surprised that this is considered a phase. That our generation,
that this Generation X is a phase?
The aspect that I apparently believe in is...
Well, I don't know that it's a phase. I think that for some people it's still a part of their lives. I think for me there's still aspects of apathy that's a part of my life.
Like how?
Like how? I don't... What's apathetic about my... Well, I mean, I'm only doing those things. I'm only working the job I'm working at to have insurance to make money to pay for my home and my children and my wife.
Okay.
I'm only doing that. And that's pretty apathetic. I should be doing other things. I should be investing in my own personal well-being and growth as a person. And that's just not happening. And I don't know if that's because I'm just worn down by doing all this other stuff, or if I'm apathetic towards it all.
I mean, you're around other parents who have to do this. Is that a common feeling?
I'm, you know what? I'm not around them as much as my wife is. I don't get a sense.
Maybe apathetic towards them.
Oh, I'm pretty apathetic towards most other parents. There are ones that are friends. There are ones that actually I still hang out with that we went to college with that moved out here and are in the same area.
Do they look like people from college? Do you relate to them as the people they were in college?
In some ways, but not really. They've all grown better than I have. They've all become better people than I feel like I am.
Do you feel like you have a lot of similarities to college still?
Wait, say again?
I'm sorry. That's true. We're not okay, Cola. When you think of you, do you like for a moment, think of yourself in college. Does that person, how different is that person than you are now?
That person,
physical looks aside,
that person had.
Although you've held on to your hair. Good job.
Oh, not much. It's thinner than it looks in those photos.
Online. On a podcast.
Yeah, it's thinner than it looks on this mic. That person, while was just kind of hanging out and waiting to see what happens, he anticipated that something was going to happen. That person enjoyed the moment. That person enjoyed the music and the food and the times and the meeting people and the hanging out and the witty repartee and the jokes and the bits that he would do with his roommate. He enjoyed that nonsensical life, and he had a sense of hope and feeling like, this all will eventually go somewhere. Me today, I'm just dragging through it. I don't know where any of it's going to go. I just hope it goes well. So there's a bit of a difference there. Makes me thirsty.
You want things to be okay, Soda? We can talk that. That's fine. I find it interesting that you had hope then.
Isn't that weird?
There was hope in the early 90s for
I was still that, I guess I was more apathetic than, more slacker than apathetic.
The fact that you're calling it hope, your view of that is hope. It's not, I don't know.
I didn't have a drive, but I just assumed it was all going somewhere.
I mean, most hope is not factored into much. When we have hope for something, it's a little delusional, and it's a little religious, or it's a little just kind of like, well, it's better than thinking what could happen. So but it also, I guess, it has an optimistic ring to it. It sounds like there's an optimistic angle to it, which is the opposite of what I think of for that generation, in which that seems like something you can market to. If we're going to talk about this fucking can of citrus soda called OK Soda, you can market to that normally. You can teach the world to sing with a bottle of fucking Coke, or you can have a teary little ad at the holidays where a homeless guy gets here's a tab, but I mean the soda, and now you're fine. But they don't have any teeth to lose, so it's okay. You can do that.
Yeah.
It makes sense that is something you can appeal to. And sitcoms do it. Friends appeals to that sort of clumsy hope in a way. The romance and these relationship funny, will they or won't they's appeal to that hope, and we get that. So sodas must have loved you. Things can be advertised to that. So it probably makes sense that you weren't into today's topic. Okay, soda when it came out. But the opposite of that, or not the opposite, but the apathy to keep saying that word of that, which I was a major defining point of who I was, can also be sold to. I'm not saying the topic will never get to OK Soda did that, but you can appeal to that with a cooler than thou or an in on the joke or a it's all bullshit thing. Because it's weird to, I mean, I hoarded that kind of stuff, comic books and music and things that preached a dissatisfaction with consumer culture, the capitalism, having a goal. But all of these people were driven people.
Yeah.
The most punk of a punk band is a driven person, and they create a form of art. You know, the Replacements write a song like called Unsatisfied that taps into real, misnomer feelings, but they also recorded it, put an album together and toured with it and are remembered. It's, I don't know. I mean, maybe the Gen X template is false. Maybe it doesn't actually have any bearings, or maybe it's just unaware of itself. I mean, you didn't identify as Generation X. You're saying more of a slacker, and you had hope. I, in retrospect, so brand myself with this dumb 2/X mark. Like, yes, that is me. I get it. And we're in the world we're in because of it, and blah, blah, blah. Like, I understand it. But how real was that then? How real is any of this at the time? But how real was that then that it can be sold to? Mm. There were things I went to. I liked my coffee shop that nobody went to. I liked the books that were under the radar. I could be marketed to by somehow presenting, hey, this is something that's off the beaten trail. Hey, this was packaged by hand. Hey, this is an artist who doesn't work for DC Comics. Those kind of things work the same way as marketing. And this obnoxious, when I think about it, need to so stand outside of that to make sure that you don't fall sucker to clothes from the Gap or the Nike swish on your shoe. So you always buy Vans. So you go to the thrift store, but nothing fits you, so you find the long coat somewhere else. I mean, it's just just as sellable too. I don't know who cracked that code. It wasn't OK Soda, topic of today's episode, I'll tell you that.
Well, did Vans sell to that, or was that just another brand that wasn't Nike? You know what I mean? Like, were you just able to find another smaller brand?
Is Vans small? Everybody knows what Vans are.
It's smaller than Nike.
By the way, I didn't wear Vans to the late
No, but I'm using your example. It's smaller than Nike. And so there's a difference between drinking Dr. Pepper as opposed to Coke, or drinking OK Soda because it's telling you it's not Coke. You know what I mean? Or because it's telling you we don't care if you drink us, or you know what I mean? It's like, doesn't matter. We're not going to show you our soda or even tell you what it tastes like. I think OK Soda is trying to actually sell that idea, whereas, as you mentioned, Vans, just because you had happened to randomly mention it, I don't know that that's what they were trying to sell. They were just not Nike.
Both things are a product. Both things, to exist and to warrant their existence, need to be sold. The issue, I guess, as I'm feeling is it phonier to be the one who's like, I have to make sure I have the underground shoe? Because you know what's cheaper than a pair of Vans? A pair of Stride Right pumps. You know, a super Stop and Shop brand slipper. It's a lot cheaper.
Right.
But I wouldn't wear those. You kidding? I'm not going to Stride Right to get my fucking shoe. I'll have to track down Vans and spend a little extra than a Stride Right shoe to have the shoe that's not a Nike shoe. I mean, Nike's not pretending. Nike knows it has a logo. Nike is, I doubt, is saying, oh, we're not selling shoes. We just are shoes. OK Cola was, so, oh, by the way, listeners, OK Cola, sorry. Because this will tie right back into it. OK Soda was a citrus tasting soda from the early 90s. It was made by the makers of Coke. It only lasted for a couple of years. It came in these instantly recognizable silver cans with what looked kind of like a peel and stick label that said OK on it. And the cans had drawings by a couple of 20-something underground indie comics, Daniel Clowes, who did Ghost World, Charles Burns, who did Black Hole. And they were designed as a soda that was supposed to be marketed and appeal to Bob and I, 20-somethings. Coca-Cola, the most recognizable company in the world, decided we're going to make something that appeals to 19-year-olds. Because as they said, and this is a quote, thank you Wikipedia for this quote, Coca-Cola felt that 19-year-olds are very accustomed to having been manipulated and knowing that they're manipulated. And they possess a lethargy that probably can't be penetrated by any commercial message. Thus, they were aiming to appeal to Gen Xers with a commercial message that, what? We're not a commercial?
Yeah.
They weren't lying. They were manipulating. They were selling. They were doing the act of what commercialization does, trying to appeal to people who turn their backs on that. It should have worked, is what I'm saying. Okay, soda should have caught on, because the people who want, not the people who aren't into capitalism, because they probably don't drink soda, they just grab whatever's there. The people who want to be known as the artists like I did, who didn't care for these fucking things, want to be able to show the world they're this artist. So why weren't they gravitating towards Coke, OK Soda, the non-Coke product? Why weren't they in on it?
Well, could it be exactly that quote you just read from Wikipedia, is that this generation is hyper aware of when they're being manipulated, of when they're being sold to, or when they're, trying to have a product sold to them, and therefore just the fact that they were trying to do that by not doing it, by counter advertising themselves. I mean, didn't we just see through it and therefore not purchase this product?
Then we were the audience. By the way, honest to God, people who sincerely don't give a fuck would never have seen these. Would never have even considered, do I want? No, they wouldn't care.
Right.
Those of us so bent on making sure the world knows, hey, I'm not into this commercialism, would see these ads. So I guess the question is, who were they fucking talking to? We're finally talking about this 20 years on. So something struck. I drank it. I went out and bought. Did you ever? I didn't even ask. Did you drink it?
I never drank it. There may have been a drink I had of OK Soda, but didn't drink it regularly to remember that I even ever did drink it.
Do you remember it being around?
I remember it being around. I remember the advertising, the pop art look to the can. As this topic was coming up, as this recording date was approaching, I checked out some old retro OK Soda commercials. I recognized none of them. I have no recollection of seeing these television commercials. I saw more the billboards, the cans, ads in magazines, or the Boston Phoenix or whatever. I remember it in print more than I remember it in television.
And a lot of things are in print. Do you remember thinking it was odd that it existed? Do you remember thinking, what are they doing? Are they talking to me? Or was it just another soda as possible as Fanta?
It was just another soda to me. I didn't catch on to what they were trying to do.
So when I presented this as a topic in that text, where I was like, have you heard of OK Soda? Let's do an episode on it. Granted, the episode we're doing is not necessarily on it. Did it even rattle in your head, oh, I see what he's getting at? Or were you just like, okay.
No, totally saw what you're getting at, because, in retrospect, I became more aware of OK Soda after it failed than while it was testing in the Boston area.
But in the moment, it was just, it barely registered with you.
Yeah, I liked the art on it. That registered. Mm-hmm. The design of the can, the design of the ads registered with me. The soda didn't. The moment it was like a fruity soda or a citrusy soda, I was like, nah, I'm out, because that's just not what I like. So I didn't even.
So it really was, you just weren't into the product.
I wasn't into the product, and the message it was trying to sell of who the people would be that would drink it wasn't connecting with me. It wasn't enough for me to be like, okay, even though I don't care for the taste of citrusy sodas, I want to make sure that people know I'm an OK Soda guy. That wasn't me.
Well, good for you. Good for you for not remembering my rants at the time. I railed against this soda's existence.
Oh, yeah.
And drank it. I thought it was dumb. The cans made me gag, because I didn't like the idea of the label on it. But yeah, I thought, oh, they're just trying to be hip. But I drank it.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous, but I bought it just so I would know the taste of phoniness. The fact of the matter is, they got a rise out of me, a reaction out of me. They played off me because it was so important for me to be, whatever, commercialism. And yet, I was surrounded by commercial products, my fucking t-shirts, my posters, the amount of TV I consumed, the movies I had to see, and the fucking soda I had to drink so that I could say, it's a sellout. There's no such thing as a sellout soda. They're products that are made to be sold.
Yeah.
Fucking, there's a weird phoniness, perhaps, to trying to fly under the radar, which I hate.
Yeah,
because it makes me.
Like,
I mean, what?
You can't manufacture that sort of brandness. You can't manufacture being the cool hip thing because it's counterculture or whatever.
I meant the consumer that I was.
Oh, the consumer that you were.
You can manufacture whatever you want. It happens all the time. Dance crazes happen because of it. Movie trends happen because of it. Clothing, fashion, songs. It happens all the time. That is the culture. That is a consumer culture. And now you mix in internet and media and immediacy. That's what that is. It's inescapable.
Well, I have a slightly different thought on that, but I don't want to get off the point.
What's your thought on that?
Well, I think there are things that happen. There are moments in pop culture and manufacturing that sort of that happen on their own, just because people react to them unexpectedly, and then there are those companies and creators that try and market themselves off of that. Okay, so that's a craze, so let's do something like that. And that's what I think OK Soda kind of was. It's like, oh, there's this apathy now in this generation of people. They know that, they don't want to be sold to or whatever. So we're going to create a product for them. And that's why I think that doesn't work. I think if you try hard to be that and not just allow yourself to become that it's not going to work as successfully. And there might be exceptions, but I think in general that's like trying to copy something that was unexpected and not being able to duplicate it.
But what's a product? I'm not talking an artistic product. No, not as an insult to the engineers who chemically designed soda. There's a science to that. But what's a soda or a food item that was a moment in time that wasn't trying to just be here, buy this item? The sheer nature of going to a store to get a soda is a capitalistic practice. So the phoniness, it's weird. We're calling out two different things here. You're calling out the soda and the process of marketing it. I'm calling out the target demographic of which I was a part of.
Yeah.
And fell for, Like when Starbucks swept in. I worked for a Starbucks briefly when they first kind of came to Boston. And suddenly I was like, I'm never going to go into a Starbucks. But I'll go into a fucking Pete's. I'll go into a Dunkin' Donuts. And I'll go into the small coffee shops. But Starbucks is the biggest name. I'm not going to go there,
Right.
And yet, I'll eat a Hostess donut. That's the biggest donut in the world. For some reason, that has appeal. I'm thrown by trying to figure out my place.
Yeah.
And capitalism because the only reason I'm aware of OK Soda and the only reason 20 people are hearing about it right now is because they marketed it successfully. They got a rise out of the people, out of me. They played to people who should be disgusted by commercialism, and they got them. They tricked them into being disgusted about something that didn't matter. And the biggest sign of this for a Gen Xer who wants to make sure he's never, me, by the way, part of the mainstream, always kind of going for the lesser known or just, I'm not going to fall for the sports mentality of the mass groups. It was a flop. The thing didn't work. It's forgotten.
Right.
Sells for big bucks on eBay, but it's forgotten. So therefore, I get to maintain my street cred by being angry and tricked by something that nobody cares for. The numbers on this episode are going to be 12, not 20, because who cares? And yet it's so important for me to be, I was so set for this episode to be, bong, what an amazing takedown of corporate America those two did. What's okay, soda? Ah. Man, I must have been in on the joke. No, I wasn't. I was the joke. They knew what they were doing, and they were fine with it. They didn't think they were going to appeal to Gen X. They thought they were going to put something out there that would appeal to the posers, because these titles and these ideas and this lack of direction is just posing. I hope not, but I guess that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what you saw it. It was a foolhardy quest to exist day to day without insurance to you at 25.
Yeah.
Nearly half your life ago. I don't have that point of reference. I mean, I have that nearly half my life.
Right.
Ago.
No,
I'm
I get
only
it.
a year younger than you, but
This has been a very strange journey. This episode.
sorry, you were excited to talk about the soda, were you? No. Did you? What are your notes, by the way? On this topic.
I figured it would go exactly the path it's gone.
What?
Though it's derailed a bit. I figured we'd establish Gen X. We'd established what we were like in that era, and then we'd talk about the soda and the way it sold, and maybe other things that tried to sell us a Gen X lifestyle. But I think it's gone a little deeper than that.
That's the thing. This is the most depressed I've ever felt.
Yeah.
On this show. What else tried to sell the Gen X? You said you had some other other examples.
I mean, it sounds so petty after all of this. But I was going to talk about some of the Volkswagen commercials of that era as well.
I don't remember the Volkswagen
commercials. I remember those great. I was
probably out at the local convenience store, not getting hocked up on fucking OK Soda. Probably sticking with Jolt.
There were several Gen X style Volkswagen commercials for the Jetta or the Cabrio or whatever it's called, where it was
What's
just
the Gen X style.
Well, it was just about like what I thought of when I think of Gen X, of just hanging out, waiting for something to happen. And there was that one commercial where two guys were just driving around in a car. It had that silly da 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 song that went along to it.
Oh, I remember that commercial.
Yeah. And it was just them driving.
Elastica covers that song, by the way.
Oh,
it's
do
pretty
they?
awesome.
Well, they didn't do it in this commercial. It was the original.
No, they did not.
And it was just them driving around, waiting for something to happen, looking for something to happen.
They pick up a chair?
They get a chair. That was the big thing. They get a chair. They're driving around with a recliner in their back. And then they decide that it stinks, so they drop it off again. And that's all the commercial was. It's just these two guys driving around. And if you think about like what car commercials are like, especially today, where it's all about luxury and it's all about fast movement and just Matthew McConaughey talking about the extensional fucking, I can't even speak right now, but Matthew McConaughey talking all these deep words about his fucking Lincoln Town Car.
God, I hate him more than I hate myself right now.
And here's a commercial of just two guys driving nowhere, doing nothing. And I wanted a Volkswagen. That's the one that got me.
Oh, so that worked on you.
That's the one that worked on me. And then the other one, which was the Pink Moon commercial, where it's just them driving around in the topless Cabrio, looking at the stars.
That's the song that's playing, right? They're playing.
That's the song, the Pink Moon song that's playing. And they're just driving, and they end up at a house party, and it's your typical Gen X house party. I think there's even somebody that walks past wearing a flannel around their waist, and they decide not to go to the party.
They find that in 1997.
And so those commercials sold it to me. Like, that's who I was, that's what I was doing, or that's what I wanted to be doing if I had a car, which I didn't. I was in Boston, didn't have one, didn't need one.
But that's what commercials do.
Yeah. But I thought if I ever got a car, it would be a
car
Volkswagen.
For the same reason. You have to get somewhere.
Right.
So,
but also, I don't know. I don't know that they were like OK Soda making it a point to be of this generation, of the Gen X, of a slacker mentality.
It's calculated. The Pink Moon song, is it a Nick Drake song?
It was a Nick Drake song. Yes, I think is calculated.
That's a choice they made.
I think is calculated as the Volkswagen.
Choice.
I think the difference was that Volkswagen already existed, and they were just sort of selling a different way to use their car, maybe.
Whereas soda already existed.
But OK
they
Soda,
designed
OK
an ad
Soda
campaign.
Didn't. OK said, "Hey, we're a different soda." It was probably Sprite. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It was probably just Sprite in a different can. But they're saying...
The guy also developed Fruitopia, so I think there's just some flavor
I
thing
did buy a
dug.
lot of Fruitopia.
Well,
does that change
as
everything?
if that says anything. No, but I'm just like, I think we're going after the wrong target here, or I'm mad about the wrong thing. The OK Soda can exist. Things have to somehow be in a can.
Right.
If you're going to sell a soda, it needs a container. So why not make it interesting? You make the choices you make. It's a calculated attempt to sell it, but so is that fucking Nick Drake commercial. So are these abysmally annoying anti-smoking the truth campaigns. You know, which I think it's just like, it's appealing to an audience, it's knowing your audience, and it's like, we're going to be the quirky Adult Swim anti-smoking motif. It's the same thing. It's like, whatever it is you're trying to sell, the manipulation is the only way to do that. The sheer nature of it means that. It's what a trailer is. It's what a teaser is. It's what an ad is. And I don't know why I'm getting so mad about something that isn't pretending to be anything else. Nobody goes to the theaters to see an ad. You don't tune in for the newest ad. They're advertisements. We know what they are, but we feel so good about being mad that they exist. I don't watch ad TV. I watch this other TV. All right, whatever. And you pay for it. I mean, it's like ads are what they are. It's weird that they're the enemy. They're the problem, when in reality, the issue was these fucking people needing to identify with the ad. The problem isn't the messenger or the message. It's the fucking audience that chooses to hardcore distance or somehow engage in an hour podcast about it. So I don't even know how much of this rage is real.
Oh my goodness. It's all manufactured, Tim.
Oh, is it working? I mean, it's okay. No, I don't know if other people have this issue or other generations that have this issue. I mean, I don't know if millennials think they're being sold to when the person on the CarMax commercial has a hat. You know, I don't know if baby boomers felt enraged when I heard it through the grapevine was being used to sell raisins. Like, I don't know if people really cared. But it seems to me, if you want to get someone's attention of our era, or at least of me, you basically insult them. You give them a reason to feel insulted. And they jump all over it. And they talk about OK Soda for an hour. And they wish they could get a fucking can of it again to make sure it tasted as phony as they think. I don't know. Like PBR. Do you drink Pabst Blue Ribbon?
I don't.
Well, then that conversation's done. But
do you?
I used to. It was the cheapest beer there.
Sure.
I don't drink beer anymore, but it was the cheapest beer at the bar. It became a go-to for other hipsters, and the truth is, I was annoyed with them. The beer never changed. It's a can. It's a beer. It exists how it exists. It's low priced. It becomes a culture, a sort of, hey, because we're hipsters, we're drinking this, and that annoys me. But it's like, maybe it is what they can afford. They put up, they spent, they got their hat money, and they got their cheap beer money.
Sure.
And so what am I so worked up about? Why do I rally in anger? Because there is a problem with capitalism, but also we exist because of it. We're doing a version of capitalism with this show. We're expecting people to buy into it. We're giving them a title of a topic we think they like, which is why this one probably will have a different title than OK Soda. And we're hoping that brings them in. It's the same thing. It's just it's been reduced to something we can do in our hand, with Facebook and Twitter and all this stuff. And now I'm just sounding like a moron.
No, I think you're making some sense there.
Some progress.
Yeah,
maybe some progress.
And so for our next session, Tim, maybe we can. This wasn't where I thought we would go, but here we are.
Nope. Here we are.
Not thirsty, though.
Not for more of this show. But let's say you are. If you're parched for another episode, I can't do it. Fuck. You can take us out.
Oh, I'll take us out then. I'll take us out as best I can. All right. So that was our Gen X apathetic okay soda episode. Thanks for listening. I really don't know if I can do this. It's so second nature for you.
If you want to hear us talk about
another topic, a happier topic, at 20podcast.com. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where you can find. That's the website where you can find all of our other episodes. Plus this episode's show notes, which if you haven't already been reading them, go find them. They're going to be fantastic. I can already anticipate that.
You can also subscribe to the show there. Yes. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Instagram at 20popcast, Twitter at 20popcast. Yeah, you got all that. You have all of that.
All of that. All your podcatchers. And you can follow us. You can follow us on Twitter.
All your motherfucking podcasters. You got this podcaster, you got that podcaster. You can get it on all of them, except for Spotify, because some of our old episodes have unlicensed music, so I can't put them on Spotify.
But not this episode.
Nope. Maybe a jingle. Was there an OK Computer Soda jingle?
No, there wouldn't be, because other sodas had jingles.
It's true. Other sodas had cans.
Okay. But not pop art. Although they became pop art. I don't know.
What about all those Santa Claus Coke cans people love at Christmas time?
That's true.
That's true. Do you want to plug yourself, or do you think everyone stopped listening?
No. People are still listening and are waiting to hear what my Twitter handle is. At RH Canning. Follow me there. Tell me what else you like to drink for reasons that are your own.
Listen to yourself. What else do you like to drink? You want that in your feed? You're hoping that people that you have begged to listen to the show come back to you like, well, sometimes I'll have cranberry juice, a sips box of cranberry juice.
I got nothing in my feed right now, Tim, so I'll take that.
You may still have nothing after that question. Or you might have a lot of pictures of Moxie. A couple orange cans of Moxie. It's a cola, not an orange soda. I was fooled. I stocked Moxie for 3 years at a convenience store. 1 year. And I was opened it one day expecting a sun-kissed soda. Yep, I lie. I multiply my old jobs by 3. So if I didn't work it at all, 0. But if I only worked it 1 year, it becomes 3 years. Because I've got a lot of Moxie. That's why. Oh, God.
You can end it with the fart, but I think the oh God is also a good way to end it.